I don't have like sound on my phone. I got it on silent, so it took me a minute to see. I didn't even see the message right away. All right, here we go. I'll try this again. 1, 2, 3. All right, welcome everybody. This is the Weird Science Marvel Comics Podcast, episode number 23. Thanks for joining us as we attempt to meet your comic book needs tonight. Get some different voices to hear, as I am Brandon, and with me tonight is
Ron.
our normal news guy filling in for Jim and Eric, who ditched us. Jim and Eric took the night off, and we're going to do our best to fill the void, which is appropriate tonight since we'll be talking about that later. Anyway, if you like this, there's plenty of other things to also keep you guys occupied throughout the week, so be sure to check out the website. It's WeirdScienceDCComics.com. You got the fresh reviews that drop at midnight every Wednesday. We get the Marvel stuff out on Monday. So we got that going on over there. Plenty of other reviews throughout the week, a bunch of throwback stuff and indie stuff filled in on the other days there. You got the Weird Science DC Comics podcast, kind of the father podcast of everything, and those guys talk about every DC book. That comes out, Jim and Eric, meaning those guys, come out every week. And then we got the Patreon page, Weird Science DC Comics Patreon page, where you guys can donate. You can get access to a whole bunch of other shows, too many to list, but one of my highlights that I like is this Jim and Eric, or Jim and his wife actually arguing things out. Jim and Eric argue on the 6-hour podcast, but this is a 1-hour monthly thing I dig, and a bunch of other stuff you can get access to over there. But obviously, a whole bunch of nonsense going on. But we're going to talk 3 books tonight. We're going to talk Amazing Spider-Man, Extermination, and Sentry in that order. So make sure you have read up and you are caught up on these titles, because we're about to spoil the heck out of them for you guys, and tell you everything that went on, tell you our thoughts, what we liked, what we didn't like. And we're going to start that all off with Amazing Spider-Man number 6. It's written by Nick Spencer. Backup art team of Roberto Ramos, Victor Albanza, Edgar Delgado. I can never say that name.
I'm horrible with names.
DC's Joe Carmanga. Yeah, Edgar always trips me up. You put an E and a G in there, all mixed together, and you got me lost. But
I just wanted to let you know that I got the void joke on the second recording.
You got what?
I got the void joke at the second recording. I didn't get it first time.
Hopefully everyone listens twice and they get it on the second time too. But anyway, we're gonna get into the blurb here, tell you about what happened in the issue, and then our thoughts about pretty much the whole thing here. And an action-packed, well, not really action-packed, but a lot of events that go down in issue 6 here. So with the first arc of Nick Spencer finally behind us, we dive deep into the relationship. This issue of Boomerang and Peter a bit more, and believe it or not, I actually did not hate it. So let's chat a little bit about big news. Big news, people. Amazing Spider-Man number 6. I like this issue actually a lot more than what we've been getting previously. So maybe I look a little bit more forward to this book going forward finally than I have been lately, because I keep buying it. Even though I say I will not every week. It's kind of like a pack of cigarettes. When I walk in to that store and I get that smell in my nose, I got to buy Amazing Spider-Man. But anyway, we start things off here with a character we haven't seen pretty much since the Free Comic Book Day issue, Vulture. He's hunting down an old associate. He's trying to pretty much get the hell out of town. And he tracks him down pretty quickly. And then we get an interesting exchange of events where Black Ant and Taskmaster, another name I have a lot of trouble saying. I nailed it that time, though, so pat myself on the back there. They come popping out of a barbecue sauce stain on this dude's shirt to punch Vulture in the jaw and pretty much watch this dude go splat on the ground. I had to read it twice to realize this dude really just died here.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that the first time reading through it, but yeah.
Black Ant is the only one that pops out of the stain, though.
Okay.
Taskmaster
that's right. He comes
zip lining in.
Yeah.
But yeah, It took me a second too. I was like, he's looking down over the edge of that building. Yeah, that guy's dead. And he's
Yeah.
just sustaining himself, he says.
Yeah, they even comment on it, actually, ironically, kind of laughing it off, but they're taking Vulture with them now. These two kind of villains we've seen hanging out together throughout a couple issues of this run. I think now this is the third time they've popped up. And then we go off to Peter and Mary Jane doing the dirty, or trying to anyway. You know how that works when you got roommates in the house, not well. And Boomerang is kind of creeping there like a creep in the doorway, staring at what's going on. You know,
almost throwing a "How you doing?"
Yeah, giving Mary Jane the eye, being a big C blocker. But then we get some flashback moments throughout the issue, again to the new Comic Book Day issue. So if you didn't read that, you can actually download it free on the Comixology app or peek it on the Marvel Unlimited app. It'll be there at this point, I think.
Yeah, it should be.
But yeah. So they're just showing you basically what the events occurred in that issue with Peter and, well, not Peter, but Spider-Man and Kingpin kind of having an interaction, and Boomerang being involved in all of it, and he got away with something Kingpin basically wants. Everyone's trying to kind of figure out why Peter hates his roommate. Peter can't obviously spill the beans. Mary Jane knows. Does she know that it's Boomerang? He doesn't tell her that much, does he?
I don't think he's told her he's Boomerang at all. That was kind of throwing me off a little bit there, because I just guess he hasn't got around to it. But.
Yeah, because she's kind of like, he doesn't seem like such an awful guy like you make him out to be. But Peter's kind of getting that from all sides. It happens with his other roommate later in the issue. Is I always forget this dude's name. Is it Robbie? That's his dad, right? Robbie's his dad. Is his name Rodney Robertson?
Yeah,
it's another double R.
It's Rodney.
Okay, yeah. So he gets it again from Rodney later, and then we get some more flashbacks, kind of things tying into Secret Empire, which obviously isn't my favorite event, but we find out how Boomerang's kind of been skirting the system and how it ties back all into that, and how he pulled favors for a few specific people when he was kind of also playing Hydra at the same time while being a mob boss and had taken over Hydra controlled New York. So a lot of backstory tied into this issue. So
I like how he wrapped that up really quick too, though. I mean, it was an interesting tie into what happened, but I suppose Nick Spencer knew exactly what happened since he wrote that main story. But.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole heavily featured like Boomerang issue or anything, but yeah, he was in a few panels throughout that, and you did see that, so it's a decent tie into Secret Empire. But this all ends up boiling down to Peter and Boomerang's interaction is Boomerang talking Peter into going to like this trivia night at the bad guys bar, the bar with what? No Name? Is that this one?
Yeah, the bar with No Name.
And I actually just ran into that place in the Spider-Man video game the other day to take a picture of it. It was
so jealous.
But so anyway, Peter follows Boomerang to this bar, and Boomerang invites him in because he ends up tying it all back to meeting up with his superior foes buddies, and he's got this plan to take down Spider-Man. He's not going to reveal it just yet because it's poker night, and they're here to play poker and not talk plans right now. But everyone kind of laughs at him anyway. But once he finds out Peter used to be the photographer for Spider-Man, he figures he's going to be nice to Peter and get in his good graces because this may benefit his plan in the long run, which is really what this all boils down to in the behind the scenes. Before we get into kind of like the fun, jokey, more part of the issue, the third act where Peter ends up playing trivia at this bar and killing it because it's Spider-Man trivia. And obviously he knows just every question that's answered, breaking the high score. But we find out, because Boomerang turned down a offer from Kingpin to take back whatever he stole all the way back in that free Comic Book Day issue, that now Boomerang has a price on his head. Peter is kind of stuck in this bar with a bunch of villains in Boomerang's company, so things don't look good for him either, but he's all smiles right now after killing that trivia contest. You know how it is. Your bar tab's probably taken care of. You had one too many pops. You're going home with more money in your pocket than you thought. Him and Boomerang are all smiles, but they're getting the evil eye from the who's who of kind of comical villains in the background there. I don't know. I like this issue. Not a lot of Spider-Man action for sure.
No, it was definitely more of a keep it real kind of an issue.
Yeah, it was low key, kind of a chill out after the big bang of the Tri Sentinels arc that just happened. But I did enjoy this more. I like Herberto Ramos's art. I know some people do not, but I was a big fan of the run that he was on the book with Slott. I really liked his touch on the book and kind of the faces and his unique style, really. So if you're not down with that, I can understand you docking a few points for style in that regard, but combined with the story, the humor was a little better in this issue. I dug it a little more. I don't think I'm necessarily getting Nick Spencer's humor like some people enjoy it. I don't enjoy it really, but it just felt better in this issue, maybe because of the situations they were in and everything that was taking place. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it enough that I would recommend this issue to longtime fans of Spider-Man, because there's a lot of little hidden callbacks and Easter eggs and things that have happened in the run throughout Dan Run and through all the way dating back for a while now. But what do you give it?
Oh geez, I would probably actually go a little bit higher. I'd probably go an 8 on this myself. I don't really have very many issues with Herberto Ramos's art, except sometimes I'm just going back and reading Spider Island right now. Sometimes he draws the women a little too skinny in the midsection.
Yeah.
Just kind of looks really weird.
Yeah,
it throws me off. Like it is almost like they did that adjusting to the models and
the body hugger.
Yeah. But other than that, it's more of a cartoony. Like a live action cartoon kind of deal that's going on with his art that I've always quite enjoyed.
Reminds me of Liquid Television, something you'd see on Liquid Television, almost MTV style. Exactly.
And the story, I thought it was pretty well done. I mean, the cold open with the Vulture. Vulture's always, cool from childhood days, basically. I liked how he had a helmet on.
He's got to be 120 by now. I've been reading Spider-Man for like 25 years. He was old back then. So.
Exactly. I'm guessing he's got the helmet on to help with his, skin not falling off his bones or something now.
Yeah.
But
Deadpool thing going on.
It was, you got like basically 3 story snippets going on, because it was like in the apartment and then Vulture and then the poker game that was going on with his buddies. It was a lot going on, and quite enjoyable issue.
Yeah, and I liked it too. The first one really in the run I've liked since issue 1. I would say.
Definitely the best of Spencer's run so far. I think I liked issue 4 most before this. 5 was a little. I didn't
like 5 either. I didn't like 4 either, though. To be honest,
too conveniently 4. The humor definitely has not quite translated yet. I think he's still trying to get his comedic timing down or something. Because I've smirked.
The jokes are long. They're long jokes.
Chuckled a little bit, but no, I haven't had the laugh out loud like zinger that I come to somewhat expect from a Spider-Man. It was definitely it's going in the right direction, and I'm looking more forward to the next issue.
Yeah, me too. So I'm gonna keep buying this book. I gave it a 7. You're giving it an 8, right?
Yep, it's an 8 for me.
So about 7.5 average. I think Jim and Eric would be a little lower than us because they're very new to the Spider-Man book, so a lot of the callbacks and stuff like that, with the exception of the new comic book day stuff, would probably go over their head. But you guys can ask them. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty new to it too.
Myself. Yeah, they would happily let you know what they thought. But yeah, so you're new to it and you dug it. So yeah, there's that. New and an old point of view there. But we're gonna move on to the X-Men portion of the night. Extermination number 3. Hand up. This is really the only X-Men book I'm reading besides Old Man Logan and Return of Wolverine. I've now gotten sucked into Hot Claw's adventures, but I've actually enjoyed this a lot. So we got writer Ed Brisson, artist Pepe Larez, Marte Gracia, and VC's Joe Sabino on letters. So issue 3 of this series continues as we see the young X-Men one by one continue to get picked off. Unfortunately, a majority of the focus of this issue is on the least interesting aspect of this miniseries so far, which is Ahab. But let's chat Ahab anyway this week and talk about Extermination number 3. I have liked the first 2 issues of this series a lot, although I'm not an Ahab fan per se. I don't know, maybe some people out there are. I've never really heard anyone, confess their love for Ahab, but he's
I barely know anything about him myself.
Yeah, he's kind of front and center in this. He's a big time '90s character. Yeah, a lot to do with Rachel Summers and that whole era of X-Men. But we start things off here with Ahab and resuming from the cliffhanger last issue where he took control of Old Man Logan. And at least the one thing I do like is they go into enough detail without being too wordy about how he's able to do this just quickly now to these mutants instead of mind control and nonsense occurring over 20 years. He's able to kind of take control instantly. And the first one he got a hold of was Old Man Logan. So he sicks his hounds, as he calls them. So Old Man Logan in this case on Young Beast. He also wants these young X-Men out of the picture. Rachel Summers is there screaming on the floor. She's got her hound marks back. So really this is where that issue picks up from. And then we see Scott looking on from a security cam, I guess, installed at the X Mansion. Just these magical comic book cameras floating around everywhere. But they're at this underwater base. I think this is the X-Men Red base, if I'm not mistaken. I gave up on that book a while back. But Jean Grey's just like, no, man, you're not going anywhere. You're staying here with us. That's exactly what they want. All you guys in one space. So, if Beast is going to bite the dust, Beast is going to bite the dust. That's just what happens. She's kind of cold here. I don't think it comes off very Jean Grey like, but whatever. We move on to young Jean Grey and the crew she's hanging with, which is basically an X-Force crew, and they're making it very clear to her, Jean Grey, I don't know why you're with us, because if we get a hold of what we want to get a hold of, which is Baby Cable, I like to call him, we're gonna cut his throat, and then we know you're not really down with that, so why are you here? Kind of, they're going through that whole back and forth. As we venture back to the X Mansion, and Young Beast is told to get out of Dodge, as Old Beast steps up to the plate to take on Old Man Logan in a pretty cool fight that lingers back and forth for a little bit. I like to see this fight, and then
Beast gets worked over by Old Man Logan.
By the end of this issue, I don't know if Harry Beast is alive anymore. It's really kind of up in the air.
Our blood.
Yeah,
it's kind of up in there. I wouldn't be too upset because I still haven't liked his design since.
Listen, if Beast, he has never been my favorite character, dating all the way back to the cartoon. I was just like, I was never a Beast fan in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, if this is how he meets his demise, even though no X-Men stays down for too long, and this is a whole timey-wimey story we got going on here. I wouldn't be sad. Let's just say that. I'm not upset like I am about Wally West. We'll say that. But
spoilers.
Spoilers. I put the spoiler tag out there before we started. We find out really Ahab, these 2 kind of gray-skinned kids that were picked up back in issue 1 by the X-Men were plants by Ahab all along, and they're the ones that plant these seeds in your mind that Ahab then can kind of, sprout and take control of you instantly. And he takes control of a second X-Men here, and that is Nightcrawler, who bamfs into the X-Men Red base and basically takes Cyclops just out to the bottom of the ocean.
I think he was already in the X-Men Red base, and then he just bamfs to grab Cyclops.
Okay, I thought he was
a little confusing at this point, because he must have planted seeds in their minds months prior.
Yeah. Or
to
when he
be.
came in contact with them the first time, was Nightcrawler on the scene? I don't remember really.
I don't
I know
remember
he was
really
in
either.
contact with Cyclops, but I don't know. Nightcrawler is basically here, and he's going after Cyclops, regardless of how he got here. Brings Nightcrawler, or Nightcrawler brings Cyclops to the bottom of the ocean. They're somehow able to get him back inside. That's the other part.
I think Jean Grey puts a force bubble
Telepathic thing
around him.
around him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind
is
of
that
puts
what
a
you
bubble
understood
around him
too?
and just
Yeah,
kind of moves him
they bring him
inside. I
in.
guess. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the only thing I could think of because there was a slight pink projection around him.
yeah.
Right
He's
in the
also
bottom right
underwater, so
corner.
it's kind of
Yeah.
miscolored. Yeah, a little bit. But yeah. So then we venture to the X-Force team, and we got Shatterstar, who's same thing. He's mind controlled. Yeah, so Nightcrawler must have been there because Shatterstar was there
Yeah.
in this plane. And he, jabs the controls, and everyone thinks they're going down momentarily while they battle Shatterstar and get him off the plane so they can, not die. So we're dealing with Scott by the end of this story just flashes back and forth between three different scenes throughout the entire run. It basically all boils down to the X Mansion being the most important of it all, because young Beast in all this chaos ends up getting kidnapped by young Cable, who is still hanging around somewhere, and also finds out Ahab is here, while Ahab finds out he is here. So everyone's aware of everyone else's presence. They are not connected though, so they're both kind of interested in what the other's doing, but not teamed up. Which you kind of might have thought over the first couple issues. They make it very clear in this issue that's not the case.
Yeah.
Then yeah, like we mentioned earlier, poor Beast is bleeding out against the walls. The X Mansion is falling into just pieces and shards for the 115th time since it was moved into Central Park.
It's a bad location. What can I say?
Yeah, and then we flash to young Cable. He is just who we're not getting enough of in this series, if you ask me. And he's trying to get these wings off of young Angel still, or attaching feather wings onto him. I'm not.
I believe.
Not quite sure.
Since he says Kelvin Rankin is awake, I believe that is what was it? Mimic.
Mimic, yeah.
He's pulling Mimic's wings off,
And he's going to put him on Angel possibly.
That's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah, because Angel's got those monstrosity fire wings right now.
Yeah, I think that the young Cable thing, you're not getting that by design, especially since they're having a young Cable X-Force book that's going to be coming up
yeah,
soon.
They already spun that out. Well, at least we know he's sticking around and not dead. Hopefully he decides to send the young five back anyway. But yeah, we start to end the issue with Cable at his base, trying to pinpoint exactly where Ahab is, because he's in some massive, sailor ship floating above the city of New York.
50,000 feet above New York.
It's like a 1940s wooden ship. It's an old wooden ship we'll call Diversity here.
Yeah, it's like a combination of a ship, a submarine floating in the sky, like a
metal ship modeled after a 1940s rowboat that they Christopher Columbus used.
It's pretty cool looking though.
Yeah. it's crazy. And so Cable pinpoints it, but not really in time, because X-Force is knocking his door down, and got Warpath, Domino, and the crew coming for his head, because he has systematically taken 3 of the young guns. So I guess we're going to finally find out what his plan is next issue. He's going to weasel his way out of getting his throat slit, because him and Jean Grey look like they're teamed up on the cover next issue. But yeah, I don't know. This is another issue that I enjoyed, but I would say not as much as the previous 2. I thought the pacing was a little jagged. It was kind of back and forth a lot. You lose track of what's going on because of the fast pace over the different locations a little bit. Other than that, I still enjoy the developments. I wish it was a little less Ahab heavy and a little more young Cable heavy, which are kind of my main complaints about it so far, at least this issue. But I do love Pepe Larez's art. Trevitt's always singing his praises. And
I can see why.
Well deserved. Yes,
Yeah.
Very well deserved. Unfortunately, the series is now going through some serious delays for something that started bi-weekly. That's very, very strange.
Yeah.
But, I guess we'll just have to wait. see what happens because they got a big Uncanny event coming up as well, and I can't imagine they're going to delay that very long. So
Yeah, I think they're just revamping the whole line, and that's why they're trying to get things to line up correctly.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But I'm going to go 6.5. Overall, I gave the previous 2 issues much higher scores, but this one I enjoyed it still, but not as much as what came before it. And again, for the reasons like I said, Ahab and just too much of him and not enough young Cable. And I'm interested to see hopefully a heavy young Cable issue coming up next. But what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little higher again because I've actually, like you, have stopped reading most of the X titles just because I feel the whole line revamp coming. And generally they just kind of string the stories out and just you get really little to
a bunch
nothing.
Of crappy issues, basically.
Yeah, Red I'm still tangentially keeping up with, here or there. It's not on the top of my pile because I felt like Taylor was going to be having a more of a in-depth story, but I don't think he's going to be able to have time to do that.
Yeah, he's going to start rushing it to a close probably.
So Extermination is pretty much my main X book that am getting right now, and that's I'm gonna have to go like 7.5, just because the art is so stellar. It was a very fast-paced issue, that's for sure, because of how much bickering and fighting between the teams is going on. But by the end, when Jean Grey and the X-Force busted through, I was pretty excited actually. And the writing is definitely, I think, what was it, Brisson that's doing
Brisson? Yeah, Brisson.
I definitely think they're keeping more of a tighter rein on his writing right now, because
he's probably my favorite X writer at the moment that's doing any X book out of the stuff I read.
Mine's Kelly Thompson. She's really killing it on most of her X titles that she's been doing. Gene X, what is it? Mr. and Mrs. X, that's fucking dope.
You're good.
Knew that was gonna happen. That's killer. But Extermination, I'm really digging this story so far, and it's definitely a line-wide shakeup, I believe, that's happening here, and it's well deserved and well needed. So 7.5, I'm keeping my hopes high.
Yeah, you could talk me into a 7. I'm gonna stay 6.5 just because I think I gave one of the previous issues 7-ish or 7.5 score, and I didn't think this one was quite up to that quality. But we're gonna go to the final book of the night, and that is Sentry. So Sentry number 4, we got written by Jeff Lemire. Artist is Kim Jasantio, Joshua Casara. Color artist Rain Barreto, and letterer is VC's Travis Lanham. Nobody's quite sure the fate of the Sentry title going forward after this 5-issue story by Jeff Lemire is over, but that hasn't stopped this book from being a highlight of the fresh start lineup so far. So let's talk a little Sentry and hope maybe Jeff Lemire changes his mind. So this, I've literally never read a Sentry book until this quote unquote mini series, I guess it is at this point, came along. And then, not that I'm going to go back and read anything Sentry that ever existed, but I'm definitely glad I read this is what I'm getting at. And then issue 4 is some more good quality storytelling as we start off with Cranium and Bob, who are in the, Bob's mind world, I guess, the Sentryverse, me and Jim have been calling it. Just basically realizing this is not how things should be. So Cranio is also getting throat choked out by Sentry's former sidekick,
Billy.
Billy has the powers here as well, and he's not too happy about the turn of events that have just taken place. With Sentry now in the real world, Bob now in the Sentryverse, he's going to have to do something about this because things have not worked out the way he wanted. We got Tony and Sentry having a quick exchange where Tony's still trying to talk him down, and Sentry's just having none of it. He's not going to be locked up any longer, and then this all boils down to him just, saying to Tony, "Screw off! I'm blasting out of here, and I'm going to deal with what I have to." Tony armors up, takes off after him, gets some form of Hulkbuster on. They really bust this out any opportunity they get the chance to, since it was in the Avengers movie, or is in the movies. But yeah, it's something you would need versus Sentry type character anyway.
Got to keep that toy prevalent.
I know, keep that Mattel money rolling in. But so Tony ends up catching up with him, and pretty much in his attempts to control Sentry, gets destroyed. Doesn't take very long at all. And Sentry is off and about to confront Bob, who has really just screwed things up because he's been, wanting to use his powers, wanting to basically be the next Sentry at this point, because he feels just Bob is not worthy, worthy of the power. And Billy essentially is. He's also mad because he feels like Bob was keeping all that from him, because Bob had the whole Sentry verse and he wasn't allowed in, and Bob wasn't at least enjoying that, and then Billy had nothing to look back on. He tells Cranium to go back inside and kill Bob, so Cranium starts trying to do it. Doesn't work out too well for him inside there, and what ends up happening is really what Bob shouldn't do, or not Bob. Yeah, Bob, right? Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, it's Bob.
He
Bob
ends up
Billy.
giving
Bob
into
is the Sentry.
Yeah, Bob and Billy. I mean, it's just so two generic B names. I can't keep straight. But he ends up going to the void. So the thing that always comes out if Sentry's around too long, and it is kind of like an evil entity of the Sentry. And he gives into it to all be one finally and fight back against Billy, who's kind of really getting the upper hand on him in the real world, because Sentry's not whole. He's split in three basically at this point. He's Sentry, Bob, and the Void. And Bob uniting with the Void turns them all back into one entity in a pretty cool splash page that also makes him undergo a costume change. Kind of gives him a red and gray motif, a little Magneto-ish, if you ask me. But he looks
Yeah,
sweet.
I could see that totally. Magneto-ish.
Yeah. It was a great issue. It just moved really fast. I mean, I read this in like, I don't know, 8 minutes. And it was a long fight between Bob and Sentry for the most part. Bob and Billy, I'm sorry. Trying to be the new Sentry. So yeah, but I still would highly recommend this series. If it's something you haven't checked out yet. I'm sure the 4 issues aren't flying off comic shelf stores. Could probably scoop them all up. But it's definitely worth taking a peek at. It's a good superhero, just, good versus evil type, former friend story type thing going on here. I'm going to give it a 9. I've really enjoyed this all the way through. I knew nothing about Sentry coming into this, and I've had a blast so far. I know, I'm forgetting his name, talked Simon on Slack. He definitely digs it, and I think he's a big Sentry fan. So there's a Sentry fan point of view on the story. But what do you think? Are you in the 9 territory like I am, or?
Oh, definitely, yes. This is some of my favorite art that's going on right now.
Yeah, I like it too a lot.
It's definitely got a very nice comic book feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I mean, it's gritty. It's not hyper realized. It's got that superhero bombastic kind of thing going to it.
Tony looks kind of extra douchey.
Yeah, I liked even the Iron Man armor, the way he was drawing it, because he even did it more clean, metallic kind of look to it. The story is moving along at breakneck pace. I really get to feel that Lemire is just in for the 5 issues and just doing a revamp and then handing it off. I don't even know if they're going to continue the series on, or they just have a plan for Sentry down the line.
I don't think it was solicited for 6.
I don't think so. I don't think it was either. I really think they're just trying to do a little revamp for use of him on a story somewhere else, which is cool with me. I mean, Sentry is a very niche character. He's had, like, what is it, 3 different trades?
Yeah.
Never really a sustaining run.
No.
I've even started reading the first trade of it, and it's definitely a very artistic vision of a character, shall I say. I mean, it's kind of Yanni is basically the first part. I haven't really got into it yet, but it still has the beautiful artwork kind of deal going with it too, though. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not my bag. I just need to have the right day for me to sit down and do that, because it's definitely a more of a cerebral character, it seems like.
Yeah, no,
I'm definitely getting a kind of a little bit of Alan Moore. What was it, Mr. Miracle? I think he did, where it was like from Eclipse Comics, where the partner tries to take over the world, kind of deal with Billy here.
I've never read any of that comic, but yeah, I know the story of it.
Yeah, I've read up to I own like the first 5 issues, and then a couple after that. I'm missing like the big, you got to spend $100 to get issue that has like the birth in it.
I always have a hard time with that. Wasn't that the story they were reprinting for a period of time and then they just stopped?
Yes, they were reprinting, and then Neil Gaiman was doing. I think Chris and Reggie did a podcast about it though too, but they're reprinting it, and then they had Neil Gaiman doing some extra stories, but then it just kind of disappeared and
petered out
pretty much. But yeah, I'm definitely in 9 category almost on every issue of this book.
Yeah, me too. 3 was a little down, but other than that,
a little bit, yeah.
Other than that, the rest of the issues overall have just been and made it a great series. But yeah, that's all we got for you guys tonight. If I had any other recommendations for you, I actually wouldn't say run out and buy Punisher, but I didn't hate this issue and call it poo-poo like I did the previous issue. Yeah. This one started off rough as well after I read the first 8 pages. I was like, oh no, not more of this. And then it really kind of picked up out of nowhere, and I was digging it by the end, although I would like to see an art change on it. So that wasn't too bad. I would probably give that like a 6. But Black Panther is not improving. And I get a sense with the way that story moved this issue. This type of series for the Black Panthers feeling more mini-ish. Every issue I read, more like a mini series that's ending in 6. I don't know. It's just a hunch I have, but it was not a good issue. I don't know if anyone likes the Black Panther story. Hit me up and tell me why, because I've
been reading it. I haven't read this most recent issue. I haven't hated it as much as you.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't like it.
I can't say it's really exciting me at all. It's definitely not in the middle of my stack of comics.
It's at the bottom.
It's towards the top of the bottom. Because the art I still dig.
Yeah,
I'm still curious about the story, but now it's almost a pissed off. Hurry up, tell me what the story is, dang it.
Yeah, I know. I feel like he's trying to do that this issue, but he's got a lot of ideas and he's trying to cram it into a limited space at this point because they've told him again, these are all hunches I have, but I don't know.
You start getting these hunches after reading years of comics, and they start to pay off a little bit. Like you can get the writing on the wall, and Marvel's not afraid to end a series if it's not selling well.
Yeah, not at this point. But yeah, and then the other stuff we were going to talk was Spider-Geddon, both edge of the last issue of that, which was okay, not great. I wouldn't tell you to buy that one. It was probably like a 6, maybe I would say, and then Spider-Geddon 0. The one with the video game Spider-Man in it, which, spoilers if you haven't finished the video game yet. Don't read that book. Because I know a few things now, only about halfway through the game that I haven't come across yet in the game. And I was like, God darn it. But it was a decent issue overall. And I'm going to at least buy the main books in that event and not mess with the side books. I learned my lesson from the last Spider-Verse. The side books were a lot of nonsense, and it's that entire event. So, and then there's a ton of them coming. So good luck, picking the good ones out. You're going to have to buy them all and sort through the nonsense.
Have you been reading the Jessica Jones series? That's
No, I haven't really dove into any of those Marvel Digital First series on
the
Comixology.
first one was really excellent actually, and I'm looking forward to reading the second one.
Yeah. What do they come out every other month or something?
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's
because they're
it's it's
like
kind of a weird
oversized,
thing.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely oversized for
Check those
sure.
out. I know they're doing a few of those.
Uh, it looks like I kind of heard that it might their baby might be turning purple. The
That's
cage.
kind of gross.
So it might be the purple man's child, I guess. I don't
Oh
know.
no, that would be a dark turn for the entire line of Jessica Jones.
Exactly.
I hope they
No, I'm kind
change
of
their mind
interested in
about
it.
that.
Kind of
Yeah,
want to go and read
I
that
might have
now.
to check it out. Yeah. But next week we will be back. We'll be talking, let's see, Cosmic Ghost Rider. We'll get that in there. I'm not sure. Deadpool's on the vote list. We're gonna throw out a tweet.
I haven't read a single one.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss a few books that are gonna get put on the vote list and leave it up to the fans, basically, and tell us which ones you want to keep of the three listed. Which one would you want to stick around? Some of them are going to be on this quote unquote list here soon. So Deadpool's up in the air, but Death of Inhumans 4 we'll talk. We'll talk Doctor Strange 6 and Shatterstar number 1. And then I'll see if maybe we can get a little what if action in there, because I know some new what if books are coming out.
Well, that drops this week, huh?
Yeah, next week. One of them at least, Spider-Man, and I think the X-Men one by Brian Hill. So we'll see what that's all about. But that's what you got coming up the pike next week. Me and Aaron are gonna sign off here for you guys. I don't got any of Eric's cool catchphrases or anything like that. But what I will tell you to do is yeah, that's our sign off. Is go to WeirdScienceDCComics.com, check out the reviews, all the articles on the website. Go to the podcast Weird Science DC Comics. Check out what those guys got to say, Jim and Eric, about DC Comics weekly, and then go to the Patreon page. Donate a little cash to those guys, get access to a whole bunch of other shows. No matter how much you donate, it is definitely worth it. And, you got to kill a few hours at work and be entertained doing it. There are worse ways to spend some dough than that way. I'll tell you that. It keeps me busy at work, even when I'm not busy. So we're signing off here. Aaron may be back next week with me if Jim doesn't get things sorted out. But regardless, we'll have more Marvel for you next week. Peace out, guys.
Later.